realize that before 1935, people were expected to work until they died. There was no government pension. Many employers did not provide a pension. People didn't work to earn enough money to be able to save anything. So they just kept on working until they died on the job.
When I started working at 16, I looked at my paycheck and I saw all these things getting taken out of it. One of them was for Social Security. So I went to my mom and I asked her, what's Social Security? She told me, it's something that's going to help me when I retire, but it's not going to be there for you.
Social Security is absolutely trustworthy. It's solid until 2037.
Social Security is a federal program which provides a basic income for senior citizens, the disabled, and the young families of the deceased or disabled. It is funded by taxes taken out of our paychecks. It is essentially financially sound and is not a drain on the federal budget. It is an entirely separate fund. In 2010, President Obama created a commission to address the federal deficit, a commission composed of Democrats and Republicans who are enemies of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The deficit is being used as a ploy to destroy the safety net. So-called deficit hawks never suggest real solutions, such as cutting military spending or closing corporate tax loopholes. What they are suggesting is that Social Security be reformed, but their proposed reforms are to reduce benefits, raise the retirement age, and privatize Social Security by investing the funds in the stock market. To maintain and improve Social Security, the single best step would be to eliminate the payroll cap. Rather than those with the highest incomes being taxed at a lower percentage, all workers would be taxed at the same rate, assuring plentiful funds for generations to come. Here's what people in San Jose are saying.
Not something that we need to cut. It's not something that we need to make worse. It's not something we need to push the age out to make it harder for people to get. We pay every day that we work into a fund that is supposed to help us when we retire. I'm gonna quickly look at my notes, because I forgot what my next part was. You know, the real issue of it is for young people is it goes back to jobs. It goes back to jobs again. There are a lot of people who are on the verge of retirement right now, and that's what Social Security is there. It's there for them. There are also 20% of people under 25 who can't get a job right now. They're ready to work. They're ready to put money into the Social Security system, and they can't find those jobs. So what we need to do is we need to fix unemployment, and we need to not cut Social Security, because when I retire in 30 plus years, I expect it to be there for me.
First, I'd like to say happy birthday to the Social Security and Medicare programs that have done a lot to help people and could do a lot more with some more work on our part. I'd like to talk a bit about the importance of Social Security isn't stressed to youth. You know, all through high school, if anybody mentioned Social Security, it was pretty much assumed that it's not going to be there by the time we get of age. So what happens is it's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy. Kids grow up, they're like, it's not going to be there, so why should I even worry about it? So we're looking at these privatized IRAs and stuff that, as we know, just over the last couple of years have crashed. I mean, and even before that point, they weren't doing better than the government Social Security. But what we've got these kids that are trained into apathy from the start. And I think, speaking as somebody who grew up through that, and somebody who tries to connect with high school students now, when we hear that, we gotta just squash it right there, because the only way that it's still going to be there is if we go on fighting for it.
That's right.
Because it's going to dwindle otherwise and disappear because people would like it that way. We have to keep on fighting for it and looking out for each other, because that's really what it is. It's us putting into a system of looking after each other. And it's only through looking at things that way that we are going to make it through our current recession and into our future prosperities, just by looking out for our neighbors, our friends, our families.
Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid are under attack. And what is really different this time is, many of you will remember in 2005, the Bush administration had a very evil proposal to privatize Social Security. And we all did what we're doing today times 1,000 to try and stop that, and we're successful. The proposal was public, the president was promoting it, and we knew very clearly who our enemy was, and we rallied and fought as we should, and we beat it down. This time, the proposals are much more undercover, much more insidious. Under the guise of trying to deal with our national deficit, which was not created by Social Security. Social Security has not added 1 penny to the national debt, ever. It has made its payments to people every month for 75 years through its own fund that we all contributed to when we were working. And as I tell people, you all can thank me later, maybe give me an extra piece of cake, because I'm paying for those of you who are currently receiving Social Security. How many people here now get Social Security? So you can thank me because I'm working and I'm still paying into it, and I pay for you. And our goal here today is to make sure that my kids will still be getting Social Security and will be paying into it for me so that I can retire sometime. This is really a family program. This commission that the president established, the Deficit Commission, which is supposed to be looking at how to balance our budget by 2015, has a lot to look at in terms of how we spend our money. Social Security is not one of the things that should be on the table. Amen. Because it doesn't contribute 1 cent to that deficit. Things like war, corporate bailouts. Now that is what we should be looking at to solve our deficit problem, not Social Security. Tax cuts for the rich, exactly. And you know, we're fighting this at the state level too, as we struggle with a very difficult budget again this year. Why are we looking at cutting those programs that the poorest, frailest folks depend on, instead of closing some of the corporate loopholes? And I know that a lot of younger people, my age, I'm not that young, but people younger than me, have already been convinced that Social Security is not going to be there for them. And if Social Security isn't going to be there for them, what do they think will be? Their 401k? Well, we have already seen what happens when you invest your retirement security into the private sector. Some people, yes, have gotten quite rich off of that, but most of us who have very little to invest in the first place have gotten sunk. And Social Security is the only thing that we have to depend on. So we have to tell our kids and our grandkids and their kids that if you want Social Security to be there for you because you're paying for it now, then you have to fight for it. And you have to fight harder than you've ever fought for anything in your life. And they could cut it in many ways. The most popular proposal that many Democrats are currently supporting, not just Republicans, is raising the retirement age. That is a benefit cut. That means that those of us who work on our feet, who actually know what a day's work means, not those who sit with their feet on a desk, whose bodies aren't going to be able to keep working until we're 70, they want us to be able to work until we're 70 or beyond. That is not a solution. Social Security is absolutely trustworthy. It's solid until 2037. And if we did one small thing, a thing that the president actually proposed when he was a senator and now has seemed to forget about now that he's president, is if we lifted the cap on earned income that could be taxed, which right now is at $106,000. If we lifted that cap, Social Security would then be solvent through the rest of the century. That's one small thing.
Birthday wish demand, when we blow out the candle on the birthday cake, that candle is to say, close the tax loopholes to corporations, tax the upper income, 1% of Americans, what they should be taxed, and deal with the military budget that's bloated and way out of proportion. We're spending too much money where we shouldn't spend it. We have people's needs that should come first. And if we get some of these priorities in place, our country can begin to get back on track and deal with the cuts at the state, national, and local levels that are so devastating to all of us.
When I was working for a large company in this community, I was told that the foundation of retirement was a three-legged stool. The pension from the company, employees' savings, and Social Security. Well, that company now no longer has a defined benefit pension program. And I wonder what they're telling the employees now is the foundation of their retirement. You read the statistics on Social Security. Most of the people on Social Security now do get a pension program in addition to Social Security. But that is going to fade away, which makes Social Security much more important. Raising the cap on Social Security, or eliminating the cap, also is important because currently the payroll tax, Social Security, is about the most regressive tax in this country because the people with low income pay the full rate, whereas people somewhere over $200,000, like maybe around $240,000, pay only half the rate that people pay who are less than the cap of $106,000. And then when they go on up, which in this country, in the last decade, the salaries of management and CEOs has skyrocketed, whereas the salaries of the factory floor workers has not gone anywhere relative to inflation. The poor are getting less, the rich are getting richer, and we talk about the recession, we talk about the depression. These used to be called panics. They don't hurt the rich. The rich have assets that are beyond what they need. And when they see the poor struggling, having to sell their assets, the rich buy them up and become richer. So that's what we have to worry about. Who is going to support people in their old age? You realize that before 1935, people were expected to work until they died. There was no government pension. Many employers did not provide a pension. People didn't work to earn enough money to be able to save anything. So they just kept on working until they died on the job. This should not happen.
Amen.
Hands off Social Security! Hands off Social Security!
So you can, in a sense, picture a parade of public policy, and less than 1% of the spectators for this parade are lined up on one side of the street, and 99% are lined up on the other. Somehow, the crowd of less than 1% is convinced many that are on the other side of the street to cheer their policies, and policies that will really never ever benefit Main Street. Somehow we become convinced that we can't avoid crumbling roads and schools, closed parks, and the dismantling of Social Security. Taking California as an example, who can tell me, with the world's 8th largest economy, that there's no money in this state to support the public sector? Right. You may hear politicians talk about taxes. But let me tell you, there's no such thing as taxes in the abstract. There are only regressive taxation and progressive taxation. And because of the rollback of progressive tax measures, we don't have money to support our shrinking public sector.
There are a lot of things that young people are concerned about, and it's not when will I get my benefits, it's not are we only going to get half the benefits we were expecting, it's are we going to get our benefits at all? And that makes it really hard for us to mobilize on the issue because we don't really feel like we have a dog in this fight. We feel like it's already a lost cause, and that the sooner we, and I agree, I see head shaking, it's not a lost cause, and I'm completely 100% with you. But let me just kind of share a couple of things that I'm hearing from people. So young adults, a lot of them are focusing on the overall benefit of Social Security. They see it as a retirement package. They don't see the other benefits as solely this is to help fund your retirement. And as compared to a 401k or a pension plan, Social Security does not have the same return off of the investment. So why not take the amount of money that's being withdrawn from my paycheck every week and contribute that towards my retirement program as well? Now, we've all seen our 401ks tank. So, I mean, you know, we're not really looking at that right now. But I mean, the whole thing is that we don't see the overall benefits of Social Security to society. We don't see what it does for people who experience an unexpected disability. We don't see how it benefits people that as you retire, society as a whole can take care of themselves because they have that monthly compensation check from the state. And when I say compensation check, it's not a compensation check, it's not an entitlement, it's an investment. You are paying every single week into this program, and like any other investment, there should be a return, and that should not be taken away. And it's just convincing young people that this program's been around since after the Great Depression. I mean, it was put in place for a reason, and it needs to be in place for a reason. And there are a lot of people, corporate America, who are telling us otherwise. And we need to have just as strong of a message. We need to be able to counteract Glenn Beck and have the same kind of mobilization that these other organizations are bringing. So, a couple other things. I briefly talked about how Social Security helps families. If your mother or father, or God forbid both, all of a sudden experiences a disability and needs to take Social Security benefits, those benefits help get you through school. Those benefits help put food on your table, help allow you to get to an age where you can provide for yourself. Without Social Security, what happens to those children and those families? And that's one of the things that we're not really talking about as a young, demographic. We're talking about how does Social Security impact us. We're not talking about society.
Having to retire due to depression and due to my back injury. That was back in, I'll say 1995. I have been on Social Security disability ever since. I rely on that Social Security disability. I did not get it because I was getting a free ride. In fact, I don't see it that way at all. When you're on Social Security disability, you have to worry each month, am I going to have enough money to pay my bills? Which bill do I not pay this month, and do I pay next month? Always juggling. Then there's the issue of wondering, is my Social Security going to be taken away from me? Because that's my only income. I worked hard for that. My body is broken, as many of, I'm sure all of you who are out there have broken down bodies from working so hard. Maybe not yet. Don't mean to imply everybody's broken. But I can't possibly enter the workforce again. Since I left Kaiser, I've had major back surgery, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that has furthered my disability.
Mostly undocumented workers, the only thing that separates them is that 9-digit number. A typical immigrant, however, and his descendants pay an estimated $80,000 more in taxes in their lifetime. and than they will ever receive in local, state, and federal benefits. This is a statistic from the turn of the century, although it's not that long ago. But they have supported the Social Security system nonetheless. A New York Times article commented that the immigrant workforce is expected to continue to bolster up the program in the coming decades, to continue to hold it up. And if you weigh the taxes paid over the benefits received, Social Security has gained billions of dollars with the sustained immigration levels, according to a Cardona sighting. I believe that immigrants need to both appreciate social services that the states provide, but also are aware of the contributions that they have made in the unclaimed benefits. The U.S. Social Security program, since its beginning, has demonstrated to be a vehicle for the citizens' transgenerational promise for social responsibility.
Well, whereas a lot of you all had the fortune to work within one industry for like for the majority of your working lives. Here I'm 25 and I've listed down all the jobs that I've had for at least a week since I was 18, and there's about 20 of these. I've been a janitor, a retail stock person, an office clerk, an instructor, a phone line technician, electronic assembler, a video editor, a car radio installer, computer technician, a driver, a journalist, public speaker, video editor, a cable salesperson, a domestic worker, a t-shirt printer, a magazine distributor, a photographer, and a cashier.
Wow.
Since 18, and I'm 25 now. And see, like, it's hard to establish a union when your workforce changes 3 or 4 times throughout a year, you know? So one thing is very important to reach out across generations, across industries, across disciplines, and really get to supporting the people around you. And yeah, that's about it.
Plans right now, they want to not reduce current benefits, they want to reduce future benefits. The ones that are being targeted are the young people, and it's something that we need to get the young people to wake up and to be aware of that. They're the ones that are being targeted by this whole proposal. They're the ones that are going to be paid, because that's why in all of our petitions and everything, we put save these programs for future generations. And the only way we're going to save it, people talk a lot about the good programs that came out of the 30s, but they don't talk about what created those programs, and that was a powerful grassroots movement. Back in those days, they believed in something called solidarity. They didn't have 2-tier pensions. Everybody stuck together. They didn't have 2-tier Social Security, step increases, all these different ways to divide us up. It was everybody standing together. That's what created these programs. The government had no choice but to give these programs at that time. So we need to learn that lesson, stick together with the young people stick together with the old people, citizens stick together with the immigrants, and then we can create some power. The whole reason we have this problem with Social Security is we don't have any power. We're all disorganized. We give our minds and our thoughts to these political representatives in Washington who are selling us down the river. They've completely topped at the corporate agenda. Corporate agenda is to eliminate, step by step, Social Security, the entire safety net, and then drive down wages to poverty levels, the way it is in a lot of other countries around the world. That's their agenda. They're not making any bones about it. That's what they want to do. Social Security is not broke. It's just that if we have a safety net, we're not as desperate, so they can't reduce our wages as fast. They just want to drive us down into poverty. And so the government's not providing any kind of a leadership on this issue, so it's up to us. step by step, Social Security, the entire safety net, and then drive down wages to poverty levels, the way it is in a lot of other countries around the world. That's their agenda. They're not making any bones about it. That's what they want to do. Social Security is not broke. It's just that if we have a safety net, we're not as desperate, so they can't reduce our wages as fast. They just want to drive us down into poverty. And so the government's not providing any kind of a leadership on this issue, so it's up to us.
We've reached the age of 65, our golden years are here. They tell us that the age begins a happy new career. For now our Uncle Sam becomes our permanent cashier as we go marching on. Holy moly, everybody! Holy moly, it's our money. Holy moly, it's our money. Holy moly, it's our money. We paid when we were...
or closing corporate tax loopholes. What they are suggesting is that Social Security be reformed. But their proposed reforms are to reduce benefits, raise the retirement age, and privatize Social Security by investing the funds in the stock market. To maintain and improve Social Security, the single best step would be to eliminate the payroll cap. Rather than those with the highest incomes being taxed at a lower percentage, all workers would be taxed at the same rate, assuring plentiful funds for generations to come.
Realize that before 1935, people were expected to work until they died. There was no government pension. Many employers did not provide a pension. People didn't work to earn enough money to be able to save anything. So they just kept on working until they died on the job.
When I started working at 16, I looked at my paycheck and I saw all these things getting taken out of it. One of them was for Social Security. So I went to my mom and I asked her, what's Social Security? She told me, it's something that's going to help me when I retire, but it's not going to be there for you.
Taxes taken out of our paychecks. It is essentially financially sound and is not a drain on the federal budget. It is an entirely separate fund. In 2010, President Obama created a commission to address the federal deficit, a commission composed of Democrats and Republicans who are enemies of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The deficit is being used as a ploy to destroy the safety net. So-called deficit hawks never suggest real solutions, such as cutting military spending.
Security is absolutely trustworthy. It's solid until 2037.
Social Security is a federal program which provides a basic income for senior citizens, the disabled, and the young families of the deceased or disabled. It is funded by... Here's what people in San Jose are saying.
Not something that we need to cut. It's not something that we need to make worse. It's not something we need to push the age out to make it harder for people to get. We pay every day that we work into a fund that is supposed to help us when we retire. I'm gonna quickly look at my notes because I forgot what my next part was. You know, the real issue of it is for young people is it goes back to jobs. It goes back to jobs again. There are a lot of people who are on the verge of retirement right now, and that's